If you are hosting your own show or you are a guest on other people's shows and podcasts, chances are you are leaving big money on the table. And today I'm going to cover the last two pillars in my 100K plus a year podcast model so that having your own show can really help you not just stand out in your industry as an authority and an expert, but also drive the profit line up in your business. Hey, it's Melanie Benson, and I am an authority amplifier. I'm host of the show Amplify Your Success. I almost forgot what the name of my show was for a second. And I am the founder of the 100K Authority Accelerator Program. And I love helping impact driven entrepreneurs learn how to kind of flip the situation and go from being a best kept secret with a ton of talent and not enough clients and impact in their lives to having a really successful business with multiple six-figure growth. And today, so over the last few days, I've been doing a series where I've been covering the 5 pillars of what goes into my podcast that we've been delivering consistently for, I think it's 6 years now. We've gotten to 100K downloads. The show is at 1.5% consistently for the last few years of all of the podcasts worldwide, which I'm very grateful. And it's because of my community, my audience, massive gratitude. But a lot of people are like, okay, Melanie, like you are rocking it. You've got so much that's happening through your podcast. Can you unpack that strategy and tell us what it is that you're doing that's working? Now, if you missed the first two in the series, you'll want to comment below, listen, or drop me some headphones or something so I know you want to hear it. And I will pull through the links for you. Wherever you're watching this, you can pop back and you'll catch it. Now, the last pillars we covered are, the first 3 pillars we covered are your topics and why relevance is so critical and why this is a huge mistake that a lot of podcasters and show hosts make is they're not naming and claiming topics that are relevant in their community, or they're not really magnetizing them. And so it's kind of weak showing and it's not really drawing people in. Second, I talked about the tactics for audience growth. This is really where everything is coming together. The marketing, the visibility, there's a bunch around that. You definitely want to listen to that. And then third was lead nurturing. And how is it that you can use your podcast or your show to nurture leads from other sources and basically end up with them ready to buy before they ever meet with you. So you're just getting on the consult to work out a few details. And if you have high ticket offers, I got to tell you, this is super powerful. Today, we're talking about the last 2 pillars, collaboration and monetization. And this is where I really see a lot of people who host their own show, as well as people who are guests on other people's shows. Like 95% of the people that are using either of these strategies are leaving big money on the table. Okay, so let's go into collaboration. This is a huge topic. It's actually part of what I teach in the 100K Authority Accelerator, because I just say collaborations are the fuel and the lifeline of everything that works in my business. It has been since the very beginning. I can attest that my first several hundred thousand to million in revenue in my business came directly from 4 collaboration sources. And I will be infinitely grateful to those people for the rest of their lives. One of which I still am constantly collaborating with, and we continue to support each other today. Those collaborations are powerful. There's so many different ways that you can turn collaboration on in your business. And one of my favorites happens in the podcast interview. If you interview other people, you have a unique opportunity to activate a gold mine of continued revenue and impact by tapping into new audiences. And what happens a lot of times is people are in a hurry, they don't really book time. They don't really have this in their consciousness. So they get on the interview and they say, hey, thanks. I'll share it when it goes live. You better be saying that part, by the way. And they're gone. The green room is one of the most powerful and potent opportunities for continued collaboration opportunity. Even if you can't do it right there in that moment, you have an access point that you may never get again. People are busy. It's very hard to kind of get these kind of conversations going sometimes. So use it. Have a conversation. Say, what else can I do to support you? Hey, do you have different ways that you like to collaborate with people beyond the guesting spot or the interview spot, right? Be intentional about turning those conversations into more collaboration opportunities. Be curious, explore, uh, throw some ideas on the table to see if anything sticks. So this is oftentimes where I get more speaking opportunities, definitely get more podcast interview opportunities. This is where the person really gets to know, especially if I'm a guest on their show, this is where we really get to know what each other's doing. And they're like, this is brilliant. I'd love to bring this to my audience in another way. Would you be open to doing a master class, or would you be opening to a workshop, or, hey, I've got this event coming. Would you speak at it? This is where a lot of those sparks ignite. And if they don't bring it up, if your host doesn't bring it up, you can say, I'd love to add value back to you. What else do you have going on? How else can I be of support to you? Open the door to the conversation. If you are very intentional here, and not everybody's aligned, like not everybody's really going to be a great source of this, but maybe like set your intention to activate at least 50 to 60% of those new relationships that are opening up. At a bare minimum, say, hey, how can we stay in touch? Because you never know what's going to emerge later. And if you do a good job of holding the conversation of collaboration as an ongoing strategy, chances are you're going to open up more down the line. So that's definitely one of them. I think the collaborations activated huge revenue possibility. Also, and this is never anything I go into an interview with a guest on my show. This is not my first focus, but sometimes it does emerge where there could be an investment you make in each other's services. And I know people that are very intentional as a podcast host, that they are intentionally interviewing people who could become clients. I am not necessarily doing that, but that is something that could emerge through the interview. And you want to keep in mind, always be of service, always be open to who you can solve a problem for. I have had several guests over the years go through my 100K Authority Accelerator because in the conversation, they start realizing, oh, Shazam, I don't really have this stuff nailed down. I like the visibility. It's not working for me. So if you're a host, think about a couple key questions you could ask your guest, just to, in the curiosity and the desire to support, to see if it's worth having any other conversations. Okay. So that's collaboration. And I would love to hear in the comments, if this is a new idea for you or something you're like, you know what, Melanie, you're right. I got to be more intentional about collaborations. Drop a little line in the comments. Tell me that this is a aha you're going to commit to or integrate in some way. All right. Last pillar. This is just where it all comes together, is monetization. And if you host your own show, you really have to have a solid call to action in your show. So think about, maybe you have an ad spot, or you weave it into the like the solos, or when you are maybe introducing yourself, or how you do intros, and outros. Any of that stuff is good, where you have a call to action where you're making it clear what you do and how you solve the problem for your audience. I can't tell you how many show hosts kind of play it safe, and they're, make it about me. It's your show. It's your money that's going into producing the show. It's your time going into the show. Of course you want to spotlight what you do. Your call to action should at least get listeners to get on your list. If not, raise their hand and purchase from you directly, or book a consultation. I don't remember if I shared this stat earlier, but around 57% of podcast listeners buy from the shows that they routinely listen to, because they have embedded trust in the host. So if you're not maximizing that and making sure that people who need what you do know how to hire you or buy from you, you are leaving massive money on the table. Okay, so let's fix that first. Second, in order to really make this whole thing work, I highly suggest you have a 4 to 5 figure offer that sells itself. An irresistible offer, a signature offer, whatever you want to call it. I know a lot of people have membership programs, they have products they sell, and that's great. But if you think about it, you got to move a lot of people through that model to make it work. And if that's working for you, awesome. But what I find is most people don't. They're not making the numbers they want. And this is one of the primary pillars of my 100K Authority Accelerator is to have a really clear offer that sells itself, that's 4 to 5 figures, and is basically a massive value experience for your client base. And in my experience, there are just way too many experts and service professionals that don't have this kind of offer, and either it's not compelling, it's not value driven, or it's not enough money. And so they're struggling to make the revenue goals and to really get ahead financially. So that's the second piece you want to make sure you have in place. Third, we already talked about, which is collaboration. That's, again, I think it's one of the most important revenue expansion opportunities in the monetization strategy. And then fourth is sponsorship opportunities. So if you have your own show, once you start getting traction, you're getting good downloads, you're getting visibility, maybe you're charting. I think it's important to think about your sponsorships. Now, I don't do sponsorships in the traditional sense where I have other companies who are buying an ad space. That's not really the way I've designed my platform. That's not saying I couldn't. I've been approached, but it's never really felt right. It's never really kind of been the groove. But that is something you could certainly look at. And I know a lot of people I've coached through developing a authority platform like a podcast. We look at sponsorship right out of the gate, even if we don't launch it immediately. I do sponsorship a little differently. Sometimes with sponsored episodes. Now, I want to be really clear. I am not selling access to be a guest on my show to just anybody. We do this very strategically when there's somebody who has a perfectly aligned topic, but they don't have all the qualifications we look for in a great guest. And part of that is reach. Part of that is they don't have all their pieces together yet. So we will sometimes evaluate, would they like to be a sponsored guest, meaning they're paying for production so that I get my costs covered, but they're getting valuable exposure and my community is getting access to some valuable insight and knowledge base. Okay. And again, I'm in a very unique spot to be able to do that. I have way more pitches and way more people wanting to be on my show than I have airspace for. So I'm having to get more and more selective. And this is a win-win for everybody. And it's been beautiful when it does work out and it's the right fit. So I say get creative. Like when it's time to monetize, and yes, I want you to monetize the other ways. Sponsorship isn't right for everybody. But if that is something you could do, consider it, right? There are lots of wins to the exchange of revenue for something really treasured and valuable like exposure. Okay, we're at the end of the series, and I would love to hear what you got out of this. Did you get inspired to start a show? There's some things that you're like, boom, I'm going to fix this in my podcast or in my show because this is going to help me. Maybe you're starting to realize being able to accelerate your authority is on the table for you. Like you really need to be intentional and focus on it. And you're ready to add another 100K or maybe even 500K or $1 million to your business this year by borrowing other people's platforms, by being able to reach more people with your message and your value and your solutions. Hey, if that's you, drop a fire emoji in the comments and let me know you are fired up to reach more people with your work, to grow the revenue in your business, but maybe you don't quite have all the parts figured out. It might be worth us having a chat. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in. I can't wait to hear your ahas and insights and what you're going to put into action. And again, drop a fire emoji if you're like, I don't want to wait anymore to figure out all the pieces. I'm ready to add that 100K to 500K or even 7 figures as an authority in my market. Bye now.